Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I want to thank you all for coming, and I just want to say how blessed it is to see you all here. The first time all of the grandkids, I'm not doing that. All of the grandkids have been together in 12 years. And with Crystal and Karen and Anita and the kids, it's sad. The occasion is sad for us, but we're rejoicing for Mom and Dad. And I just wanted to say I'm just blessed to love you all. We have 70-some years of love. And it will just, this family will continue to grow. There's 68 of us, just because 2 people fell in love in 1954. And as our grandchildren, their great-great-grandchildren mature and have their families, it will just continue on. And their love is enduring. So I just wanted to say, for those, like everyone knows me, right? I'm Terry, the daughter, one of the daughters. But I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for making this a priority and being here with us. Mike is next.
Well, first I want to thank the Jarmans for helping us with this funeral. I've known Brett since he was that tall, and I love him. I love his family, and they're a blessing to me. And I also want to thank Bobby Noonan for everything he did for my parents while they're at the home. And I'm glad you could be here today. We're here today to glorify Christ by honoring Roger and Barb Swenson. All the people here know what they did for people. And I have 2 scriptures I'd like to read. The first one is John 14:2-3. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you. For I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, you will be also. And the second verse is 1 Thessalonians 4:13-18. This is written by Paul, and it's one of the first churches that on his first missionary journey that he set up, and he sent him a letter. But we do not want you to be uninformed, brethren, about those who have fallen asleep in Jesus. For this we say to you by the word of the Lord, that we who are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord will not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet of God. And the dead in Christ will rise first. Then those also who are alive and remain will also be caught up together with the Lord in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so we shall always be with the Lord. Therefore, comfort one another with these words. Thank you. Dave.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm the other brother, Dave. You don't know me. We're here to remember and honor Roger and Barbara Swenson, loving parents of 4, grandparents of 15, and great-grandparents of at least 30, maybe more, I don't know, I stopped counting. Plus, beloved aunt, uncle, friends and acquaintances of multitudes. Many, many people knew Mom and Dad. The people here are just the ones related to them. Imagine how many are out there. Dad left us last year in October. Mom last Saturday night. From now on, they'll be together forever. You have your obituaries. This is a joint remembrance. Dad, ever so polite, said, wait until Mom goes. We'll do it together. And so that's what we're going to do today. In the short time I've had to ponder all of this and all that's gone on, I've put together what stands out to me and what I want to share. Everyone here has their own memories, so as time goes on, or as time permits today, please remember to share yours with your friends and your relatives. I'm going to start out, I'm going to go back to the beginning. There are 2 years here that matter. 1936 and 1954. In 1936, Mom and Dad were both born. Mom was born to Isaac Earl Cundy and Mildred Cundy. They lived near Belfouche, South Dakota. They had something of a hardscrabble existence. Her dad was a miner sometimes. He didn't like going down in the mines. And he was a farmhand. And he did other kinds of work. But it wasn't easy for them. She was born in 1936, which was the I'm doing a teaching thing now, which was the historically lowest birth rate we had had in the country because of the Great Depression, the dirty 30s, the extended droughts, the record-breaking temperatures. It was just absolutely an awful time to be. Yet they put together a family back then. Dad was born in September 1954. He was the youngest child of 5. The family were ranchers and farmers. They were doing okay. Life was pretty good. Dad had to move to Sturgis in 1949 because his dad had a heart attack and couldn't ranch anymore. So he went from the shock of being a farm kid to being a town kid. And it took him a while to adjust. Mom, Dad died just before she turned 13. And eventually, my grandma Millie got a job at Fort Meade working in the canteen. So they moved to Sturgis when Mom was a freshman. And over time, one way or the other, they got to know each other. And by 1953 and 54, they were an item. And not long after graduating, they got married. So as I extemporaneized here, my computer just went to sleep. So just give me a second here. Over the next few years after they got married, they stitched together a young and growing family. Dad completed college at Black Hills State Teachers College up at Spearfish. He first taught shop and coached at Quinn, South Dakota. Then beginning in 1960, he was a shop teacher and coach at a first-of-its-kind combined tribal and public high school in Eagle Butte, South Dakota. Mom was primarily a homemaker for the first 11 years of their marriage. And I'll talk more about Mom and Dad individually as we go on. But while we were there was something called the War on Poverty by President Johnson, and they opened up a community action program in Eagle Butte because that was a place where there was immense poverty. And Mom got to go to work for her first time as a professional, as an assistant to that director at that community action agency. I remember Mom's going to work. She had to put together a wardrobe. She didn't have a work wardrobe. She had to put together a wardrobe. And after a few weeks and months, as things went on, we weren't talking about Dad's job. We weren't talking about Dad's issue. Mom had a job. And it mattered a lot. In 1966, though, we all moved to Flandreau, South Dakota, again, where Dad taught industrial arts at the Flandreau Indian School. And Mom finally got the chance to go to college. She was in her 30s. She went to Dakota State, General Beadle State College is what it was called back then. By the time she graduated, it was called Dakota State College. And again, that made a big change in Mom's life. Opportunity to learn. Mom took French and came home and talked French to us. I can count to 3. Un, deux, trois. I knew that no meant no. We. Yes. Oh, no. In the meantime, Dad earned his master's degree in education, which helped lead to his being eventually appointed as the principal of the Flandreau Indian School. Changes at the BIA induced a move to Utah, and I think it was 1977, where Dad worked for the Bureau of Land Management and Mom worked for Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith. She'd always say those last three. We couldn't just say Merrill Lynch. After that, they moved back to their acreage up in Boulder Canyon. Dad worked at Ellsworth Air Force Base, Mom at the Great Western Bank in Sturgis. Great Western. First Western Bank. Well, it was great to me. Until their respective retirements. For nearly 40 years there, they hosted family and assorted visitors at that wonderful place in the hills before moving on, not too many years ago, to a condo in Spearfish and then to Touchmark in Sioux Falls, where they both resided until their deaths. Okay, that was the quick timeline. That was the quick. For all of you that didn't know the big arc of their lives, that was it. But I want to tell you a little bit more about Mom and Dad as individuals. Dad liked to hunt, and he liked to fish, and he liked to play. When they had me, they were both pretty young, so Dad was still kind of a kid. So he liked to play. He still liked to play. Dad walked fast. You did not want to go hunting with my dad. He walked you into the ground. Dad drove fast. Too often. My dad drove fast. And sometimes his hustle did not serve him well. More than once, as he was hunting, fishing, or just exploring, he found himself in some remote place without a spare tire, with a flat tire, with a spare tire padlocked to the car and he didn't have a key, stuck in the mud or in a snow ditch. That was my dad. When we were young, Dad played catch with us. He taught us what he could about whatever sport. Dad was a coach, so he thought he knew something about whatever sport we wanted to do. He took Mike and I hunting all the time. Why? Because we were his bird dogs. Grouse, pheasant, both of us could run them down. In retrospect, I'm thankful that Dad wasn't a fan of duck hunting. Dad was also good at forgiving, a virtue I'm particularly thankful for. Mom was simply always there in those years. She nursed us, herded us, fed us, scolded us, got us to church on time. She signed us up for things, sang to us, and listened to us. Mom liked to read. Our house, this is in Eagle Butte from what I remember, had a good supply of condensed Reader's Digest books. I don't know if you remember those. You could get a novel and it's like 80 pages. Our house always had magazines. They swapped books among one another out there at Eagle Butte because it was so isolated. There wasn't a library. You just sort of had this underground railroad of books going back and forth. I'm assuming they were all good books and things that we would like. Mom, too, liked to play, but she mostly liked to do things with Dad. The two of them bowled. They danced. They hosted card parties back then. They would set up card tables in their little house in Eagle Butte with the little mint trays and the nut trays, and the people would come over and they would play cards. They would play bridge. They played bridge. They would get together. They would talk. We would hear it because the children were exiled to our bedrooms with a little bowl of mints and a little bowl of nuts and told under penalty of death, don't stick your head out that door. I want to talk, but they did whatever they could to make life in Eagle Butte possible. I want to talk about the dancing. My mom and dad were fantastic dancers. They could jitterbug all night long. I used to watch them and I'm just like, why can't I do that? Because I can't. Oh, they were lovely to watch. Dancing. It didn't matter. If there was an event for them to dance, they danced. Sometimes it was only them out on the dance floor. Later on, after moving to Flandreau, Mom and Dad became avid golfers, and golfing actually kind of became the center for a lot of their social activities, who they knew and what they did. It was a way for them to integrate and be part of that Flandreau community because we were outsiders and we came from the reservation. So that wasn't quite so easy to do. Extended family was important. I got ahead of it. Mom and Dad were funny. I got ahead of myself. They could tell stories. Everybody in our extended family told stories. Our grandma told stories. Virgil told stories. Dad's brother John, oh my God, can he tell a story? They would tell stories, and then we would retell their stories. Storytelling was something that we did. They loved to talk to one another. They were devoted to their family, and they had, as I've already said, a multitude of friends and acquaintances wherever they lived. There was a richness to their life that benefited us all. Extended family was important. We didn't go on regular vacations like other people. We went and visited family. We visited to the ranch. We visited to Newell and Sturgis to see Grandma, or Dad's dad, Albert. We visited to Philip to see a great uncle. We visited to Rapid City to see another great uncle. That mixture of family and relationship was always part of the agenda, no matter what we did. Okay, so some stories. Just a few, not a lot. We won't worry about it. In the winter of 1962, we were driving back from one of those visits. We were coming probably from Newell, maybe it was Sturgis, but it was 1962. We were somewhere west of Faith, Highway 212. If you've driven that road, you know that it's desolate, lonely, and the odds of meeting another car are about zero. The car stopped. Dad opened the back door. He grabbed Mike, grabbed me, threw us in the road ditch, and drove away. Drove away. We watched Mike. We watched that car, black Ford, 1956, driving, getting smaller and then the brake lights came. Brake lights. And he turned around, and they came back, and he opened the door, and he said, "Get in." And he turned around and looked at us, and he said, "Your mom made me come back." I guess we'd been misbehaving. I guess we must have been good the rest of the way, but I can tell you one thing. Mom's standing in the family increased considerably that day for Mike and me. Terry and Joy surely have some stories maybe like that as well. There's one that involves a beehive, but I'm not going to tell that one today. Mike and I had another doozy with Dad. In the late 1960s, Dad built a canoe, a fiberglass canoe. He built it himself. It was quite a good canoe, as heavy as could be, but man, he loved that canoe. In 1968 and 1969, we had a historic snowfall, bad winter in eastern South Dakota, and it flooded bad starting in the first week of April. The Big Sioux River was just absolutely full. Schools were closed, roads were closed, and on one afternoon, Dad comes home and he tells Mike and me, "We're going canoeing. We're going to canoe the Big Sioux River." Specifically, he wanted to go over the dam that now was level with the floodwater. He wanted to have an adventure. So, the floodwaters were as high as the dam, but where the dam was, the water went like this and then roiled and then up again and over. And as we were coming to it, paddling along, we paused a little bit, and Dad, ever the strategist, he says, "You know what we need to do? We need to paddle really hard." Okay? He says, "Yeah, we'll just scoot right over the top of that thing." So Dad's in front, Mike's in the middle, I'm in the back. We are paddling, and we hit that wave, and we went into it and under it. And we kind of popped out because we were full of water. And we would have probably been totally full of water, but Dad at the front blocked most of it. It was scary stuff. Now, you might think that would be enough adventure for one day, but Dad said, "I've rethought this. We paddled around, we emptied the boat. We emptied the boat, and he said, not fast, slow. We need to go slow. Now, Mike and I, our prefrontal cortexes haven't developed yet. We do not understand Rick's. We just understand our dad. We paddled back around, we went over it, nice and slow, just like a bobber. Not an incident, not nothing, anything. It was just beautiful. It was great. Smug, happy. As we paddled back to shore, Dad said, don't tell your mom about this. Okay? Remember when I said Dad liked to move fast, sometimes too fast? That first canoe attempt was a too fast. I guess all of us, maybe if you knew Dad long enough or well enough, you would have heard maybe that same kind of sentiment. Don't tell Barb. Don't tell Barb if you don't have to. I'm sure Mike did. I think the girls did. But our sweet dad was no stranger to predicaments. Two more quick ones. About 15 years ago, Dad was thinning out his pine trees. Someone was going to take them away after he laid them down. So it was a little after Thanksgiving. I was visiting. He would fell the tree, and I would take that old Ford tractor or the chain. I'd hook up to him, and I'd pull him over into I was making a nice array of those trees. And as I was hooking that chain up, Dad dropped a tree on me. It horrified him. He came running over. Good Lord, was he scared. I was a little scraped. Pine trees hurt, and my head was sore, but I was okay, and he made sure I was okay. As we were sorting out the mishap, and we both determined I was not seriously hurt, Dad looked up to me and said, don't tell your mom. Don't tell your mom. And then he muttered, she'd never forgive me for killing one of her kids. I have one more. Sometime before their 60th anniversary, when nearly all of you got to attend, I bought Dad a Sears riding lawnmower a few years earlier. Anyway, he must have been backing it out. He wasn't paying attention like he sometimes did, and he rolled it down that gulch behind his garage. Rolled it down. Somebody, like one of the grandkids, helped him pull it back up. He didn't get hurt, but he told one of the grandkids, which one I don't remember, what? No, he said, don't tell David. That was our dad. Sometimes just this side of a disaster, but darned if he didn't make it through one way or another. And that was our poor mom, who lived with a man for 72 years who was occasionally just this side of the next mishap, at least some of which she never knew about because neither and Mike ever blabbed. So enough stories, I'm about done here. When I wake, a little bit after I wake, I have a song in my head. It's not a medical condition, I don't need medicine, it's just the song pops into my head, it just stays there for the morning. I have a song. After I got called at midnight, the Saturday went into Sunday, and I was sitting in the dark, pondering what had happened. A song came in my head, and then another. First one, I can't sing it. It just went, so I'm an orphan now, out here on my own, and it's hard to know where I belong. It comes as no surprise, it happens to us all. As the sun will rise, night must fall. Yeah. Mortality has won out like it always does. But then it has a chorus, and the last line of that chorus says, I know love is all I need. That's all I know. And here we are with nothing much more to offer than the love we had for Mom and Dad and the love we have for one another. And that's all I need. That's all I know. There was another song. Maybe some of you know it. I'm going to live forever. I'm going to cross that river. I'm going to catch tomorrow now. You're going to want to hold me, just like I always told you. You're going to miss me when I'm gone. Nobody here will ever find me, but I will always be around, just like the words I've left behind me. I'm going to live forever now. And so it goes, dear Mom and Dad. You've both crossed that river. I will miss you so much, but I know full well that you will always be around. And so for me, for us, you're going to live forever. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Today, as we stand here, and I stand here honoring my grandparents, Barbara and Roger Swenson, I can't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. While our hearts are heavy with loss, they are also full because of the incredible lives they lived and the legacy that they leave behind. If I had to describe my grandparents in just a few words, I would say this: they loved Jesus. They loved each other, and they loved their family with everything they had. Their faith wasn't something that they only talked about on Sundays. It was the foundation of their lives. They lived for Jesus every single day, and you could see it in the way that they treated people, the way they welcomed others into their home, the way they prayed, encouraged, forgave, and served without expecting anything in return. They showed us what it means to live with a servant's heart. Grandma and Grandpa just didn't tell us how they loved, they showed us. Their marriage was a beautiful example of commitment, kindness, patience, and unwavering devotion. The love they shared was steady, genuine, and inspiring, and watching them together taught us what a Christ-centered marriage looks like. And as grandchildren, we were some of the greatest recipients of that love. One of the greatest gifts they gave us wasn't something that we could hold, it was the example that they set. They taught us that true greatness is found in serving others, loving deeply, and faithfully following Jesus. Their legacy isn't measured in what they accumulated, but by the countless lives they touched. They planted seeds of faith, kindness, generosity, and unconditional love that will continue to grow through their children, their grandchildren, and everybody who was blessed to know them. While we miss their hugs, their laughter, their wisdom, and simply having them here with us, we find peace knowing that they're exactly where they are. They spent their lives pointing others towards Jesus, and now they're in his presence, hearing the words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Until we meet again, their lives were a beautiful testimony to God's faithfulness, and their love will continue to shape our family for generations to come. And until we meet again, we will carry that legacy forward, love one another as they loved us, and continue to walk in the faith that meant everything to them. We will love them, and we always miss them.
This is going to be hard. I want everyone in here to stand up and just look at one another. Turn around, look at everyone that's here. Take a seat. We go to church every Sunday, and we get there, the pastor always asks everybody to get up and look at everyone and greet them and shake hands and let them know that they're loved, and loved. That's what Jesus taught, right? Jesus' main thing was love. And these two amazing grandparents showed that every day of their life. And it's something special. You know, and I look at everyone here today, and I love y'all. I miss y'all. And I know that these two felt the same all the time. The things that I'm most grateful for of my grandparents are what they taught was love and what family was. I look at everybody and I'm just thinking, man, those two are legends. Legends. And I can't even emphasize, they make me proud to be a Swenson. So proud. And how does someone do that? You know, no one in this room is perfect. No one. All of us have quarrels with one another. But Dave was talking about it. Grandpa taught us to forgive and forget. Because everybody in here matters. We are family. We love one another. The best times of my life were my youth years, getting to drive out to the Black Hills to see everyone in here. I can't imagine life. What would it be like if Grandpa and Grandma never did that? Would I have ever known my cousin Shannon and all the memories that, you know, being my favorite cousin when I was growing up, loving hanging out with him? I mean, I even stole my dad's car in high school and drove all the way down to Des Moines because I wanted to go hang out with Shannon for a week. Didn't even tell him. I just got up and left. I got there, but then my dad said, "Get your butt home. You're not doing that." You know, and would I have known all these cousins? You know, I mean, the fun we had with every single one of you, Chris, Kelly, Shasta, you know, all those memories. That was what mattered to Grandpa and Grandma's family. And I was honored I got to move out there. I didn't get to be around Grandpa and Grandma a lot, but due to certain circumstances, I got to move in and live with them for a few years. And I'll tell you, there's no better place I could have been, because I got to see what love was and how passionate he was about each and every one of you. My kids got to learn about their grandpa and grandma. You know, they got to live there. They got to come in there. The way they accepted us, the way they took us in, like we belong there. You weren't a burden ever. And it was amazing. You know, I'd come home from work, late wrestling tournament, drive in at 10. Every time there's nothing, the lights are all shut off, they're in bed. Grandma would be in bed. Your food's in the fridge, nicely made on a plate, tin foil on it. All I had to do is throw it in, and it was good. I mean, she every time she made a meal, it was either meatloaf and baked potato, chicken and baked potato, and green beans. You know, egg bake, pancakes, but we were treated good. You know, and Sunday morning after she passed, my wife, she always treat us when she was out there, and I'm making Grandma's egg bake. So we celebrated Sunday morning with a little bit of Grandma's egg bake. I told her, I think we should bring her pistachio salad, because Grandma taught us how to make that, and that's a hit. We like making that. But biggest thing is that family is everything. Loving each other is everything. I watched Grandpa every day wake up and sit at his table, pray for each and every one of you. Every one when I was living there. And, you know, and to hear someone say they do it and then to actually watch it is a totally different thing. That man prayed for us. And that, I believe, we've been blessed because of that. Grandma and Grandpa. And they were always watching out for us, always when we were in need. I mean, Grandpa saved my life more than I can count. You know, I burdened his life when he was over 80. You know, I got low driving a car, got lost, don't know how he even found me, but he found me like an hour away from his house. He went out looking for me, scavenging, and found me. Saved my life. I mean, nothing was too big for him. He was going to do whatever he could to save us, to make sure we were right with God, to teach us the right ways. And those are things that I'll always be so grateful for him and Grandma and how much they did for each and every one of us. Biggest thing is that I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for Grandpa starting the trips out to the Black Hills so that we all could get closer, that time was special. The memories are deep. I dream them still. You know, I wake up every day because of the positive legacy he left behind. I'm always thinking to myself when I'm doing things, maybe it's not the right thing. I'm thinking, what would Grandpa say? You know, and there's a lot of times in my life that I had to call Grandpa because he was easy to talk to. He was someone that I could always talk to with a problem or a concern. And if I was struggling in life, he always had the right thing to say. He always had the ability to make me see it differently and understand it's going to be okay. Nothing's too big that God can't conquer. You know, and that was some of the biggest things that he taught me along the way is, you know, have faith, keep believing. It's going to be okay. You know, and when you think you're at your worst, like so many of us have been, you know, and I was an example of one that had to live there and had to be taken care of. And I know there's a lot of us they've done that for. But man, what a blessing it was for us to learn from them and take something out of those moments that will live forever. Some of the biggest things that I know that I enjoyed about Grandpa and Grandma was playing hand and foot with them. And Steph and me, and we would play all the time. I mean, when we moved in, it was like we're their new card buddies. You know, and they enjoyed it. Oh, they enjoyed it. But some of the best memories is how competitive they were. And they were competitive. I was like, 80-year-olds going at it with a couple of 40-year-olds is pretty intense. But I'll always remember me and Steph got beat, and we were walking back to the bedrooms, and they were in the kitchen, and you could hear them in the background, Grandpa and Grandma going, "That a girl, sugar plum." We whooped them, and we were sitting there, Steph and me were like, "We can hear that." They didn't even say anything. They were just very competitive. You know, it was a good memory. I was like, geez. After that, I was like, we got to take this serious. I was like, they're out for it, you know. But man, they're amazing. But one of the things that I want to stress the most is that family was everything. I hope all of you, we don't ever lose that. You know, sometimes I wish we could all meet again like we did at the Hills. You know, I wish we could make that an annual thing. I wish my kids could know, you know, Shannon's kids, and I wish my kids could know Kelly's kids. I mean, why not? You know, that was one man and one woman's dream to bring that together to do it. You know, those are things that I value, you know, because those are great memories. But I hope we get to do those things again, because those are the things that I always look back on, and I'm like thankful that Grandpa taught me to love. He taught me how important family was. And, you know, Grandma and Grandpa were amazing listeners. Now, very thankful, very thankful. So we love them. My biggest thing is I thank God. I thank God for blessing us with these two amazing humans. You know, I thank God all the time. I'll tell you, I go to bed and I pray and I thank God for my grandpa and grandma, because I don't know where I would be today if I didn't have, they weren't in my life. You know, and that's pretty special. So we love them.
Okay, so I'm cousin Karen, Barb's niece and Roger's niece. When we walked in, I told my sister, I'm not going to cry. And she took that bet. And I walked in and I saw Aunt Barb, and immediately I started crying. So forgive me if I shed a tear, as we all do. When I was asked to speak, I thought, oh no, because public speaking has always been something that, like many of us, I cannot stand it. I hate it. But I thought, you know what? These are people that I love, and they love me, so I'm just going to talk to you. But I did write stuff down because I didn't want to forget. First of all, it is an honor. It is an honor to speak at a funeral for my Aunt Barb and my Uncle Roger. Nobody could have had a better aunt and uncle. So today we gather to celebrate the lives of these two remarkable people. Our hearts are heavy, but our hearts are also full of rejoice and gratitude for the love they gave us so freely. As most of you know, my brother and sister and I lost our mom when we were quite young. Kelly was 14, I was 12, and Crystal was 7. And during that time of loss and uncertainty, Aunt Barb became a guiding light in my life. Darn it, Crystal, you won again. She never tried to replace Mom, but she gave us love and encouragement and a sense of belonging always. Whatever was going on with her kids, we were included. We were included in everything. And I always knew whatever happened in my life, good or bad, they were one of my first calls because they would support me no matter what, good or bad. And for us little motherless children, that was pretty special. I guess we weren't motherless. We had lots of mothers. We had Grandma Millie and we had Aunt Barb. And they stepped into that role. And they treated us so wonderfully. So, Aunt Barb, she had many gifts. And one of those was her singing. She had such a lovely voice. And I can remember singing with her at Grandma Millie's bedside when she was in hospice. And Anita remembers that well. And it was such a sad time, but it was also such a special time that we got to spend together. And loved Aunt Barb's voice. But I think her greatest gift was her gift of hospitality. Everyone was welcome. You walked in and there was cookies, there was something to drink, or you came for a meal. You felt welcome. You felt at home. And I didn't really appreciate that until I've gone other places and you go, I don't think she had the gift of hospitality. But you definitely know when someone does. And there was warmth that they created in their home. Everyone was welcome. Now, back to young days, when Mom was still alive, I can remember Mom and Aunt Barb sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee, chain smoking, lighting one cigarette from the other cigarette. No. But having just wonderful conversation. They could spend hours and they'd kick us outside to go get into mischief, which we did. But I don't miss the chain smoking. You know, I'm glad that that Aunt Barb quit smoking. But I do treasure that memory of those ladies sitting and laughing. And by the way, speaking of laughing, wasn't Uncle Roger's laugh just the best? And wasn't a day just better when you got to spend it with him? Because he was full of fun. And maybe just a little bit of danger. Maybe. One of the things that I remember is all of the celebrations that I was able to spend with them. Birthdays, holidays. There wasn't a birthday that was missed that we didn't, Anita can recall. We would go and we would be at Aunt Barb's, and Uncle Dwight would come over, and Barb would always serve a wonderful meal, and we just had a great time. And then sometimes we had to play hand and foot because that's a requirement, which I think is kind of a fun game. I know I'm not 100% in here of the hand and foot, right, Dave? Yeah. Another special memory that I have is Barbie's birthday, March 3rd. It was tax season, so we were always busy, but that was blocked out on my calendar for lunch because we'd go to Pizza Ranch. And Roger would sneak in early before we got there and pay for us because he didn't want us to pay for it, our own meal. So he would sneak in, and we would eat too much food and have to go back to work and really just want to lay down. But you also left with a sense of happiness that we got to spend that time with them. And when they moved to Spearfish, we didn't go to Pizza Ranch anymore, but we did get to celebrate a lot of Barbie's birthdays. Roger was a man who liked to serve others, whether through the food pantry ministry, jail ministry, or plowing snow for the neighborhood. He was a man on a mission to help others. And I was often on the receiving end of that. When my then husband Russ and I built our log home up in the family compound, Roger and Bobby Noonan spent so many hours helping with the construction of that. They gave so freely of their time and sped that project up quite a bit. So I was always so very thankful for that. I think in blessing others, he was blessed. That gave him a good sense of purpose and happiness. He was somebody that did not like to be idle. He needed a project. And you all know this. I'm just gonna, I'm just winging it up here. So I want to tell a story about Roger and Virgil. Mischief is what I like to call it. When Virgil moved up to the compound, as I call it, he built his house up there, he and Roger spent a lot of time together. They had throughout, from the 50s, they had been spending time together, but they'd go hunting, fishing, golfing, and then sometimes they'd find little projects to do. Well, they decided there was all these cocoons of moths along on the hill. So they took my dad's little mule, and out they go, Many of you probably saw Virgil drive his little mule and his pipe in his mouth and driving along. And Roger'd get out and cut the little cocoons off, and they threw them in the back of the mule. And they decided they were going to destroy that because they didn't want all those moths. I think about it all the time. I see them and I think, man, I wonder if I should try that. But so far I haven't. Anyway, they took their stuff that they were going to burn, and they went over to Uncle Dwight's house where no one was. I don't think they wanted witnesses. So they decided to burn that pile. And they got them burning, and then Dad took some gas and threw it on, and then the fire came back and whooshed my dad's face. And obviously that's concerning. So he went to his house, which is just across the road, went to the emergency room. Roger comes to my house, burst in the door and said, "Your dad burned his face." And then he left. Because he's going. So I, like, what? Where? What? So I jump in the car, go to the emergency room. Thankfully, it was just a little scorch. Dad had a kind of a peel, and his skin looked marvelous. It really did. He had good-looking skin. I mean, he looked a lot younger. I don't recommend it, though. But there was mischief. And, after Dad passed away, I think Roger probably missed him as much as anybody. They just did a lot of stuff together, and they loved each other. And I hope they're fishing right now and, telling stories, because they're both really good at it. So I think I told Terry this just before Barb passed. What brings me comfort is thinking of my family reunited, and of the reunion between Barbara and Roger and Mom and Dad and Grandma Millie and Uncle Dwight. And what a party right now. Hope they're fishing, hope they're playing cards, I hope they're having a great time. Yeah, and I don't know, is there smoking in heaven? Because I'm sure they all wanted to start back up. Yeah. But, so I will say, Aunt Barbara and Uncle Roger, thank you for everything. You are deeply loved, and we will never forget. Thank you. Hello.
I'm trying to be funny at first, so I can't cry. Okay. Hello, family and friends. For those that don't know me, I'm Bethany. I'm the youngest and most favorite granddaughter and grandchild. I find it apropos that we're all gathered here around the 4th of July. The 4th has always been my favorite holiday. All of the amazing memories I have at Grandpa and Grandma's humble and beautiful property. The smell of pine and warmth and sunshine on my face will always remind me of the precious days with family. It gifted me with a love of volleyball, root beer floats, candy necklaces, triangle bob, and fireworks. Along with those memories, here are a few tidbits that will always remind me of my grandparents. Canned green beans with melted sliced American cheese, which is a perfectly appropriate side dish. A carb-heavy breakfast of champions consisting of oatmeal and cocoa wheats, plus an English muffin smeared with about a half cup of peanut butter. A perfectly acceptable breakfast. Early morning fishing trips. A somehow never empty coffee pot. They taught me that sweatpants are not acceptable attire due to a saggy bottom. Grandma retaught me how to crochet summer after summer with no hint of irritation and never-ending patience. I still don't know how to crochet, sorry, Grandma. They also taught me no distance is too far to travel. Impromptu hugs mean more than hello and goodbye hugs. When someone is hurting, no lecturing, just love. The months I lived with them, like Jeremy, a particularly difficult time in my life. I never felt like a burden. I was never pressured to talk about my struggles, but always felt safe to do so if needed. Oh man, not doing well. Thanks. The tearful love-filled eyes when they saw me in my wedding dress before marrying the love of my life will forever be etched in my memory. My husband and kids send their love, by the way. They both loved me and us so much, and they just wanted to see us happy. My ultimate goal in life is to unconditionally love my husband, children, and future grandchildren as immensely as they loved their family. I imagine them now in heaven, walking hand in hand, as they always did, eternally at peace. I have some short voicemails from them. Hopefully it can play. They're kind of cute. I don't know if I'm able to hear it.
Hi, Bethany. I couldn't find the phone. So, anyway, call back whenever you can. Love you. Bye-bye.
Did you guys hear that? So, Grandma's precious voice, and then
Yeah, Bethany, Grandpa Roger, Barb, just wanted to call you Happy New Year. Bye now.
that's all. Thank you.
I'm Cousin Bobby, and I go back before all of you. Barbara, Anita, Dwight, Skip, we started out as little ones, got into a lot of trouble, and we had grandparents that tried to take care of us too. Anyway, I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. Barb, and then Roger, and of course Virgil came along. More fun, and the key that I want to leave with all of you is remember. The memories. That's what we have. That's what we'll share. So growing up with Barbara and Anita, Dwight, my brother Skip, crazy things. Of course, Dwight and Skip were kind of pushed to the side. Barb and Anita and I, and for some reason, Anita and I were kind of a clique. We used to get in trouble and blame Barbara. Sometimes it worked. Anyway, in partying, I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time, but we started as young kids together, and we went up until Saturday. Long life, great life. So whatever you do, don't forget the memories. I laid last night and thought, should I get up and talk or should I keep my mouth shut? And I thought, all these things went through my mind when we were young. Roger and I and Virgil, some of the things we did and got away with. Was fun. It's life experiences. So the key to all of you is don't lose the memories.
All right. So if I had to describe my grandparents, they were fair, compassionate, and frugal. Now, and I mean, towards themselves. Like, they would mail me checks. I'm not cashing the check. Like, you got to cash a check. I'm not cashing the check. I'm 35 years old. Don't mail me any checks. You know what I mean? So he would mail me cash. And I'm like, oh. You don't mail cash back. I mean, you just don't do it. Anyway, so I want to tell a story about when the hail came through in 2015 or 14 or whatever, and the roof got damaged. And so I came back and helped him replace the roof. And this is the frugal part. I mean, he got new metal. I mean, we put metal on anyways. So we put a perimeter of boards around, and then we put foam, and then a board and foam to screw to, right? So there's like no lumber. I'm like, where's the lumber? He's like, I got lumber. And I'm like, okay. So we burned the lumber he had up really quick. And then I'm like, wait, throw me more lumber. He's taking the pickets out of the deck and throwing them up. And I'm like, well, I throw them off the back of the house. I'm like, I'm not using them, you know? And then I'm like, I need lumber. And then he's gone. I'm like, I'm on the roof. I go, where's he at? So I go find him, and he's got these 2x6s, and they're twisted like nothing. And I'm like, all right, we'll use these, I guess. He goes, ripping them down. Not in half, thirds. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, and this table saw he has is just like, I mean, he could have bought a new one, like a really nice one, but he wasn't going to do it, you know? So, anyways, we got the roof on, and we did it all, and Dad came and helped. Thank God Dad was there. Otherwise, it would have been a real struggle. But we did it, and he's like, you can get by with what you got if you really try hard. You know what I mean? And you don't need everything to be about you. It can be about everybody else. And that's just kind of how he was. And I'll never forget it. I miss him.
Sent my 2-year-old on a walk so I could do this and not have him scream at me. I don't even know where to start with Grandpa and Grandma. I mean, I posted a video on Facebook, but it got cut short. What I was trying to tell a lot of you is Grandma, to try to prove how sharp she was towards the end of her days, used to rattle off all your names, oldest to youngest, through every single family, and continually do that to prove she's all there and that she's, she wasn't going anywhere. She loved you, for sure. Grandpa, one of the last words he ever said to me, and my kids are with me in that room, he said, I'm just thankful going to the grave that none of my family is in prison or in deep with drugs or alcohol. And that sat with me hard. Because I have a drink every once in a while, I used to, up until that day, up until that conversation. And then I stopped. And then I changed some other ways, trying to get in the scripture and the word, follow Grandpa's ways, just because I think that's what he wants out of all of us, to follow that path that he dug in the dirt for us. He blazed that trail, and we got to follow it. Back to what Jeremy was saying, we got to love each other, because that's what it was all about. Growing up, Grandpa, we spent a lot of time with Grandpa and Grandma, sometimes more than most, and it was just because of the situations we were in. But one of my full circle stories will come at the end here. Every summer we went up there, we'd always know to go fishing. That was the thing. Bass and pancakes, right, Chris? Yeah. So we were always looking forward to going up there summer, but we knew we had to go fishing, but also we knew that we would have to help some family from the church move. That was, you're a strapping young grandson, so 1 to 2 to 3 times sometimes when you were up there, you would help people move. And you would do it voluntarily. You would not get paid. And they would tell you, this is paying it forward pretty much. This is how it works. And I never got any of that until I got older. But, just loved the fishing trips to Grandpa. Well, when I got older, I wanted to return the favor to Grandpa, and I wanted to take him fishing. And so Jackson and I went out there, and he didn't tell me anything. I show up. I told him, initially I planned on taking him fishing, and I show up, and he says, you're helping me move. And I was just like, same summer stuff all over again. And then Chris shows up, and you're helping me move out of the house that you have all your memories at. We're moving. And that's what we did while we were there, and I never got to go fishing with him again. We never got to go that time. Time's a thief. I should have took advantage of it sooner. And Grandpa being Grandpa, he's just the right way as he always did. So I didn't mind moving him. I was just bummed I didn't get to go fishing with him one last time. But Grandpa also ruled with an iron fist. I disrespected Grandma one time, and that was the last time, and I think a lot of you probably did the same thing. He watched over Barbie more than anybody, and he's up there watching over and taking care of her now. So I find peace knowing that they're reunited again and that they're together and they're watching over us. But Jeremy's right. Grandpa did pray for us every day. And after he left, I felt like part of that protection left now that Grandma's gone. Whatever he had over us is starting to disappear. And the evils of the world are showing up and showing out. So now is the time for us to stick together and love each other. I love you all, and Grandpa and Grandma loved all of you. Thank you.
Anybody else like to say something? If not, this is over and we will return to my house for a meal. If anybody does not want to get to my house, I will give you the address. It is 28199 West Avenue, Canton, South Dakota. Now, the easy way is you go on Highway 18 to Canton. The Lutheran Free Church, I'm just east of the Lutheran Free Church on the north side of the road. Can't miss it. We'd love to have you there. So, thank you for being here.